I made my manager's ugly baby uglier. Years ago, I worked for a large retail chain under your typical promoted because he's one of the boys manager. He didn't do much that actually needed doing in our department, and even foisted things like employee reviews, product resets, and counts, etc. off on me. He mostly hung out with his buddies and chatted with customers, although he didn't sell much because he always tried to push everyone towards the highest end product, even if a more moderate one would suit the customers better. The company rewarded him with prizes like trips and gadgets for our high sales. Sales that I largely made with a team I trained. And then he would brag about all the cool stuff he got. I didn't like him much. One thing he loved talking about constantly was his baby, maybe 9 months old. He even made a picture of the little tyke the wallpaper on our display computer. I get being a proud papa, but on top of me already being annoyed with him for being a terrible boss, his baby was weird looking. Nothing was wrong with the baby health-wise, but it was bug-eyed and big-headed like its daddy. This was especially highlighted because babies are already naturally a little like that, and this kid was like if Megamind had sex with a pug. And now I had to look at a picture of it all day, and the customers saw it. So I went into a photo editing software and increased the size of the kid's eyes by about another 10%. Not enough for daddy to notice, but enough that it was startling if you were seeing the picture for the first time. Uncanny Valley vibes. People would subtly react when the boss man showed them the picture and talked about the kid. Like they wanted to say something but absolutely knew they should not. It was small, it was petty, and I still giggle about it years later. Hopefully, the kid grew up to look like mama. So, I don't really have any commentary on this one, but I should probably fulfill the commentary quota. And let me ask you guys an important question. What are your thoughts on ugly babies? No, don't answer that. I'm joking, but nobody really got hurt. The boss is a jerk. This was petty revenge. Who cares? It's funny, and people can be like, nice kid, very beautiful. Anyway, next story. Story number 2, Revenge on the Office Karen. This is not my story. It belongs to a friend of mine. I couldn't stop laughing at the subtlety and nuance of her win this week and have to relate it. A is an executive assistant for the CEO. While she works mostly for one person, there's an executive team that she also does some work for, and one of those is C. C, for want of a better word, is the epitome of the office Karen. She takes great joy in being condescending, rude, taking credit for everyone else's work, and throwing people under the bus. Difficult to work with is a bit of an understatement. When A, my friend, first started working there, C reported her to her boss for attitude on a number of occasions, when all A was doing was trying to hide her frustration because C was deliberately being obtuse and making A's life unnecessarily difficult. A's boss is well aware of the friction. However, C is actually very good at her job, and she's clever enough to not cross lines that will get her in deep trouble. So, A decided if she can't beat them, she'd join them, in the best and most subtle possible way. Earlier this week, A ensured her boss overheard her talking to a client, praising C to the heavens. It was actually a real client call, not faked. And when she hung up, her boss praised her for being the bigger person and talking up C despite their relationship. When C came in, the boss made a special mention to her that A had been praising her while A was just sitting there smiling innocently at her. C was not happy about this, but couldn't do or say a thing without looking like an ass. To put the cherry on top, the following morning, A greeted her with, "C, you look so tired. Are you okay? Can I make you a coffee?" C said no and stomped into her office. Every time she came out, A proceeded to say, "You really don't look well. Are you sure you're okay? Is there anything I can do for you?" Meanwhile, A's boss overheard all of these exchanges and once again praised her for setting aside their differences and trying to make things work. By the end of the day, C was visibly seething, and A was the boss's new favorite. We believe C may well be a basket case by Christmas. So I don't really understand this one. So I understand the chain of events. A had a phone call with a real customer and started hyping up C and made sure the boss overheard it. Then the boss was like, "Yo, C, she's hyping you up. You should be happy." And then C got mad about that? This one doesn't really make much sense to me. And then now I do understand that she's killing her with kindness. That can be annoying. So I guess that works. All right, my brain is satisfied enough. You'll have to forgive me. I'm recording this at 1:30 a.m. Next story. Story number 3. Disrespect me? Have fun waiting 21 days for your money. I do a lot of work with the homeless. My house is offered to many that I trust for a night when the weather is extreme. We had a few days of snow. Lately and last night, I got a call. I have 2 rules for staying at my house. 1. No drugs. 2. Respect me and my house or lose both. I have a couch with a pull-out bed that's always made and ready for whoever needs it. Because of my first rule, not many take me up on my offer. Last night, I got a desperate call, so I got in my car at 9 p.m. and drove an hour to pick him up. He offered me gas money, which was a huge help because I was on E. When I picked him up, he told me he needed to get his backpack from a friend. That's common to leave things with others who have a car/shelter if you don't. An hour and a half later, his friend was talking too loud on the phone, and I hear he's trying to get drugs, not his backpack. I told him that he knew my rules, and he wasn't bringing drugs in my car or my house. So, he freaks out on me, slams my car, starts crying, saying that he's going to be out in the rain all night, saying I'm just like his abusive ex-girlfriend. Even going as far to call me a little Ashley. He had sent me gas money via an app, but because he put in his password incorrectly 4 times, it held the funds for 24 hours. I left, and he starts blowing up my phone demanding the money back. There was no money in my account because it was on hold. He saw that email when it happened. He was sitting right next to me. So this morning he starts threatening me, saying he's going to claim fraud and ruin my account and my credit. Obviously, he doesn't understand how this works because he can do neither. This morning, I got an email saying he filed a claim, stating he didn't receive the item. He can only get his money back if the sale was done online, not just the payment. An in-person sale doesn't qualify for a refund, and it wasn't a sale. I don't want a black mark on my account, so I submitted our text saying he was giving me gas money and the explanation. Now, instead of sending it back after the 24-hour hold, he has to wait up to 21 days until the claim is settled, even though it will go to my account. I'll send the money back, but I shouldn't because I still drove an hour to get him, waited an hour and a half, and he knew the rules before he even asked. Have fun waiting 3 weeks. Story number 4. Messing with the homophobic racist guy my grandpa married after he kept asking me, a teenage girl, if I had a boyfriend. This happened about 17 years ago, but I was reminded of it today and had a good laugh, so I thought I would share. Backstory. When I was about 12, my grandma divorced my grandpa and got remarried to this guy that I will call Bill. Bill was in his late 60s, from East Texas, and was as religious as they come. And from what I had heard from others/things he had said over the years, I was pretty sure he was homophobic and racist. Thankfully, I didn't see him much since they lived several hours away, but on certain big holidays, mostly Christmas, we'd all pack up and go stay with them for a few days to celebrate. Being a 12-year-old girl at the time, Bill made me uncomfortable, mostly because every time I saw him, the first question out of his mouth was inevitably, "Do you have a boyfriend yet? Is there a boy you like yet?" etc. Sometimes he'd ask multiple times during the same trip, every single time. I hated it. I'd just answer no and go hide out in the spare bedroom so he couldn't talk to me. Now for the petty revenge. A few years later, I was around 17 at the time. My mom told me Grandma and Bill were coming to town for Christmas that year. My sister was heavily pregnant, and her due date was a few days after Christmas. There was no way we were traveling and risking her going into labor so far from home. I must have made some kind of face because my mom asked what was wrong. And since I had never told her, I explained how Bill creeped me out and was always asking me about boyfriends and stuff. I popped off and said something to the effect of, "I swear, the next time he asks me that, I'm going to tell him I have a boyfriend and a girlfriend." My mom, being someone who likes to start stuff, was like, "Do it." So we made a plan. I was straight back then, but I had a lot of LGBT friends in high school, and one of my friends, Mindy, was bisexual. We would use her name to make it sound natural and easy to remember all day instead of a fake name. I asked Mindy ahead of time if it was okay, and she was all for it. She just wanted the details afterwards. And if anyone else in my family who wasn't in on it asked me about Mindy, it would just add more credence to my lie when I talked about her or brought her up in conversation. The boyfriend was going to be all fake because I had a plan about him. Anyway, me and my mom are standing in the kitchen, and Bill is sitting alone at the dining room table nearby. My mom, again, someone who likes to start stuff, doesn't even wait for Bill to ask. I think she wanted to watch and didn't want to chance missing it if Bill asked while she wasn't around. A reenactment of our short conversation. My mom says, "So, how is Mindy doing? I was so sad when she couldn't come." Mom looks subtly sad. "Okay, so we're doing this now." I reply, "Yeah, I know, but she had family visiting as well and couldn't find time to get away." I turn and lock eyes with Bill, and since he was listening in on our conversation, I felt obliged to explain. "Mindy is my girlfriend." The look of shock and dismay on his face was so satisfying. He said something to the effect of, "Are you serious?" And at that point, it was on. "Oh, yeah, Mindy is my girlfriend. She's super nice and very pretty. I'm sure you'll like her. Oh, and we also have a boyfriend. His name is insert historically Hispanic name here. I think it was Julio. But I mean, there is no way he could come. He's still in prison right now." And I can just see his eyes getting bigger and bigger with everything I said, and I am having so much fun with it at this point. I mean, they say he's in this gang and that he killed this guy, but I know he totally didn't do it. Julio is so sweet and I love him so much. He treats Mindy and I so well. There's no way he could have done it. "That's right, honey," my mom said. "He'll get out soon and the three of you will be together again. Hopefully the wedding won't have to be pushed back." The best thing was that he couldn't even call me out on my lies because my mom was right there agreeing with every word I said. In the span of about 3 minutes, I had this man believing that not only was I gay and dating a woman, I was also dating a Hispanic guy who was in a gang and in prison for murder. Oh, and that we were all thinking of marriage. He did not talk to me for the rest of the holiday. I did notice him giving me strange looks, but I didn't care. As far as I was concerned, mission accomplished. The aftermath. I had to ask my mom about this part because I didn't remember. I forgot about Bill as soon as they left. She told me my grandma confronted her. "Why did you tell him that kind of stuff?" etc. Mom explained why, and that it wasn't his business, but Grandma thought what I did was worse, and that what he had done was just small talk / wanting to get to know me. In the end, I don't think I ever saw Bill after that. Grandma left him a few years later, and that was that. I like to think he didn't believe my grandma when she told him it was all lies and that he's still in East Texas thinking about the crazy granddaughter of the woman he used to be married to. Shenanigans, tomfoolery, just a little bit of mischief and lies, just a dash, a sprinkle, and mother and daughter bonding over a homophobic racist and trolling him. Isn't that great? It's beautiful. I love America. Next story. Story number 5. I can't sell food? Fine, I'll sell the plates then. I stumbled across this subreddit and decided to share a story of petty revenge from my youth. 14-year-old me was a menace to society. She had her fair share of respect for authority and rules, but if you tried to impose a ridiculous rule on her and she found even the tiniest of loopholes, she'd exploit it to kingdom come. Set the scene. I'm in middle school and it's almost Easter, so every class is putting up a kiosk for a bazaar. You're allowed to sell anything, legal obviously, crafts, pastries, art, etc. My class wants to make some money to fund a trip. I've always liked cooking and making desserts, so I offered to make crepes for us to sell. I get up at an ungodly hour every morning and make them to make sure they are fresh. I wear gloves and a hairnet and make sure to sanitize everything to ensure it was safe. A classmate brings bananas because his dad owns a grocery store. Someone else brings honey their relatives sent them because they live in a rural area, etc. You get the point. Team effort. We are up and running in no time and making mad bank. At lunch break, we always have a huge queue of kids waiting to buy our crepes. Unfortunately, that means the other kiosks aren't getting as much business. We are on good terms with most of the kids from the other kiosks and they are chill about it. One kiosk has more traffic than others because they are giving out 1 to 2 homemade cookies with every purchase. So, after a few days, the girls from the cookie kiosk come over to us along with the headmaster. He says that we can't sell food anymore because it is unfair to the other kiosks. I point out that the girls are also giving out cookies, to which he replies, "You can give out whatever you want for free, including food, but you can't sell it. It's unfair competition." Again, if he had shut it down because of a health concern, we would have dropped it at the bat of an eye. Health is no joke. But claiming that it was unfair that we had a good business idea just didn't sit right with me. Everyone else was free to do what we were doing. I kept thinking about what he said. You can see where this is going, right? We were serving the crepes on those generic white paper plates. So I buy a food-safe marker, flip some plates over, and start doodling, and some classmates with a knack for art follow suit. We mostly did cartoon and anime characters. Then I hang up some plates around our kiosk and change our sign to cartoon character art $2 a piece, plus a crepe of your choice with every purchase. And we are back in business. Just like clockwork, the cookie kiosk girls are back at our kiosk with the headmaster again the next day. "I thought I made myself clear," he says. "You did, sir," I reply, and point at the sign. After a long silence, a calm facepalm, and a long "I don't get paid enough for this" sigh, he relents and I give him a crepe on the house. He also suggested I become a lawyer. I love this story so much. I'm loving all of these stories. We have read so many stories about people cheating on their spouses, and I feel bad. But you know what? This is so much better. Oh my God, I'm happy today. But anyway, I love the fact that the headmaster was just like, fine, whatever. I don't care. Then he relents. Eat a crepe. Next story. Story number 6. My high school bully and his yearbook photos. I went to a boarding school for a few years. One of them had a kid, Tyrell. T was kind of a jerk and annoyed a lot of people. Kid had an attitude problem, but it never really got resolved. He'd mouth off to teachers and get confrontational with students. I think he got into a few fights. T lived in the same dorm as I did, and he'd get in my face a lot. Picture a 4.5-foot, 75-pound high school student with a 5'10", 150-pound kid in front of him with a short fuse. He never punched me because I was very friendly with almost the entire school, and he was aware that it wouldn't work out for him in the long run. Anyway, I got my revenge when I got on the yearbook club. I blurred every single photo of him in the yearbook, with one exception, only because I missed it. Yearbooks come out, he doesn't notice. I'm sitting in the living room area with the dorm parent, Mike, and T walks by. Mike: "Hey T, did you see the new yearbook?" T: "A bit, but I haven't gone through the whole thing." Mike: "Looks like your picture is blurry almost every time you show up." Me, internally: "Oh crap, shut up." Mike: "Hey OP, weren't you on the yearbook club, and didn't he torment you a lot this year?" Me, with a huge grin: "I have no idea what you're talking about. Good night, gentlemen." I don't feel proud of this as an adult, obviously, but as a kid who was getting sick of being pushed around by people who thought they could do it to me because I was smaller than them, I needed to respond at the time. I was never going to fight him, though he really wanted me to throw the first punch. He kept yelling it at me that year. Bruises heal, but reminding him every time he wants to take a trip down memory lane of the consequences of bullying is a good life lesson for him and his future kids. He effed around and found out. Story number 7. Get rid of my cat? Okay, I'll get rid of your dogs. I, 22F, have a difficult relationship with my father, 60M to say the least. I have tried to have a good, loving relationship with him my entire life, but he isn't the nicest person half the time. He can't hold a job or get along with someone for more than a month before blowing up over something. He yelled a lot at me growing up and practically scrounged for things to be mad about constantly. His fits have become less frequent, but no less frustrating. Anyway, since I've moved out 5 years ago, he's gotten 2 new dogs. Our previous ones passed of old age or were puppies that were rehomed. We used to keep a lot of dogs and cats growing up, and occasionally some wild animals that were injured until they were nursed back to health. My dad got very attached to a squirrel we had in my middle school years named Junior. One day I came home and Dad said when he let Junior outside to play, he came back in to do something. And when he went to call him in, yes, the squirrel responded. Yes, I know this is weird. He found the squirrel in a less than desirable state with my cat Polly. He said that since Polly got rid of Junior, he got rid of Polly. He didn't rehome her. It was traumatizing, honestly. I came home last week to see my mom, but I decided to visit my dad since he was only 5 minutes down the road. I got there, spent about 15 minutes with him, and then he blew me off to go get some weed from his dealer, still illegal in my state. Before he left, he showed me a cute ornament he bought for his Christmas tree of a squirrel in honor of Junior, because he saw it in one of those feed stores in town. I asked where the ornament for Polly was, and he said that cat was garbage for what he did to Junior. A couple days ago, I visited again, and he ditched me again. While he was gone, the landline rung. It was the dog catcher from the local pound. She said she picked up my father's 2 dogs for the 3rd time this month. Not surprising, he doesn't leash them and has them outside half the time. So, I decided to leave, go to the pound, fill out the info, and pay a small fee to owner surrender the dogs. They were taken to a no-kill shelter 1 town over the next day to find their next forever home that will actually feed and house them properly, and pay to give them updated shots and stuff, which my dad also doesn't do. My father found out what I'd done when he went to the pound and has been spamming my phone to the point I had to block him. He was also posting about what an awful child I am on his Facebook page, and some of my relatives have reached out asking if I actually turned his dogs over. Many of them agree with me, but a couple think I took things too far. I don't feel bad anymore, and I don't care what my relatives think. I've finally decided after so many years and so many bad experiences to just go no contact with my father. But finally, getting one over on him and making sure his latest pets have been moved into actual caring homes was definitely icing on the cake. He doesn't deserve to have pets or kids or really anything that has to rely on him for basic necessities. Screw him. So, what do you guys think? You know, if you're not taking care of your kids or someone is doing a bad job with their children, what do? You call Child Protective Services on them and then have the kids taken away and put somewhere better where they can be taken care of. So, I assume with animals, it's a similar mindset here, but I'm curious what you all have to say on the matter. Did she go too far? Could she have done something better? Personally, I don't think the dad was the best to be taking care of those dogs. He hardly collared them. They were improperly fed. They weren't getting vaccinations. Maybe there could have been a better way to go about it, but in the end, they were in a bad spot, and now they are in a better one. So, ends justify the means, kinda? He was a terrible dad, so we also have to remember that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye!